I don't honestly know. As I say, new manager coming in, someone just asked me next door, do I think they'll change much? I don't know, I can't speak for Hearts obviously, or for Ian or his staff, but they had a good result against us a week or so ago. Would you come in and do a complete revamp? I wouldn't think you would do. So we would expect more of the same. But as I say, Ian will come in and maybe put his own twist on it.
He's a young head coach. Do you think that has an impact? Is that the way the game's going now? Because there's been some positives and negatives in terms of...
I'm delighted to see the appointment, delighted to see it. I think it's brave on his part. I think it's a brave call by Hearts. He's a young coach, but he's obviously very knowledgeable. He's demonstrated that, I'm sure, to a number of people within the game. So delighted for him. Pleased to see it, and wish him well after the weekend.
You played football as a youth player, and then you went away and came back in. Does that sometimes help you? I know he's been coaching in various different places, but does that give you a sense of perspective and a different view?
I hope it does. I mean, the game is changing. The players coming through the academy system are changing. They're far more inquisitive. They're more knowledgeable about the game. I think it's more about man management now. It's about creating the right environment for players to develop. So I think you can come from a different background and make sure you put your knowledge and experience into place here. That's the idea behind it, I think.
Given where you got to in your career, having not played at a high level, look at Brendan Rodgers as well, having been injured early. Yeah. Are you surprised that there's been so many people looking to point fingers and perhaps say that Ian isn't the right type to take on this sort of job?
I don't know who's pointing fingers. Certainly, I've not heard anyone mention that. I think people are pleased to see it. It's as I say, I'm saying brave in the right way. He's a young coach, obviously very, very bright individual. I'm delighted for him. You know, he's got his chance. So credit to Hearts, he's got his chance, and I wish him well after the weekend. Not this weekend, but I wish him well afterwards. Because going forward, I think it's a brave call. And as I say, he's got a lot of confidence to come and take the job. I'm sure he's got the ability to do a good job as well. So just wish him well.
Has the lack of for a better phrase, playing CVs, have you ever found that that's held you back in your own management?
No, I hope not. I think I came through the academy system. So I was lucky enough to build up in terms of age groups, start the 12s and the 13s, and you work your way up and get used to the older age groups, and you find yourself working with the reserves and some first team players, and I had a nice progression. I was fortunate in that respect. But I think any player, whatever job you do, you want to come into an environment that you can benefit from, develop in, and you enjoy coming to work. So if you can create that environment, then you're in a good place. Players want to come in, they want to be organised, they want to know what they're doing, they want to feel that they're better for it, and they want to leave the building at the end of the day having enjoyed what they've done. If you can do that, then you'll be in an okay place.
What's the biggest difference between being a coach and not having the responsibility of management to then going and taking on the top job?
No, it's just that obviously you've got to make the calls, the so-called big decisions, you know, in terms of the obvious ones: team selection, player recruitment, who plays and doesn't play, all these type of jobs. They're the obvious ones, but there's, you know, it's fair enough, I've got to do a presentation shortly about decisions, but the small ones can have the biggest impact sometimes. You know, you really can. So I think every decision you make within a football club, you have to attach significance to it, because as I say, there's always a consequence of your actions.
What was it like for you going in to manage a first team dressing room for the first time?
Interesting, I think it's a word. I think mine was at Brentford. In terms of going in there, I went in there I got a phone call from the chairman, 1 o'clock in the morning, that the manager had left, and I take train the following day, and that was it, literally. So I was on the PC checking the names of the players. I didn't know the names of the players, so I'd up all night doing that. But you have to go in, and if you can show, same answer, if you can show that you can answer their questions, so you have some subject knowledge, you can deliver a well organised session that they enjoy, and you can speak to them in an okay manner, well then they're going to have you. The players are intelligent. You know, I read some comments. I was interested to read Austin McPhee's comments about the zoo and the chain. Players are intelligent individuals. They are, you know, and they know what they need to get better. They know what they want, and they're not arrogant. They're not ignorant. They just want to make sure they're organised and enjoy their sessions. So I thought his comments were very good, and if you can do that, as I say, you're in an okay place.
Did you encounter any resistance, maybe not from inside the dressing room, but just from externally when you took over?
Not that I could hear. I'm sure there was, but not that I could hear. And as always, if they've got a problem, come and tell you. That's the best way. Come and say face to face, and that's the best way. If it's not face to face, so you can't hear it directly, then just ignore it. It's just cheap shots.
And a lot of it was just for you then, just learning on the job?
Yeah, you have to learn on the job. You have to keep on pushing. You have to keep on. I think more people are coming into the game with different playing backgrounds because they can get access to the high quality courses now. So down south, for example, St George's Park does a magnificent job. And the program's in place now. You can get access to these courses. You can get yourself qualified. You can meet other people, and you can showcase the qualities that you have. When people talk to you and the contacts you make, hopefully utilise them. But certainly there's more access to courses now, which gives you access to staff and players, and hopefully the jobs in turn.
There's been a lot of focus put on this so-called laptop coaching. How important is stats and analysis in the modern management?
It all plays a key part in the game. It's part of the pie. That's it. It's not the be-all, end-all. It's part of the equation. You have to go out in the grass and you have to deliver a session, and it has to be well structured and it has to be relevant, and the players have to learn from it and they have to enjoy it. That won't change. It all goes on out in the grass there, but around that, around recruitment and game performance and training performance, is all the relevant data. And you can have reams and reams of data every single day. What you have to do is take what works for you, what's relevant to you and your team. So that's the key part, is there's your mountain of data. Just take out the bit that you think is most relevant and makes you better. Simple as that.
Just talking about the dressing room, and you say, players aren't daft, they just want to get the right answer. Is it one of the most challenging things though, because they're big personalities?
Yeah, they are. But I said that's the man management. That's why you have to admire Sir Alex and manager of that Arsene Wenger, the manager of that calibre, that quality, to be able to handle different dressing rooms and different personalities. But again, it's about the team. It's about putting the environment in place. I had an interesting conversation with someone at St George's Park who was coaching at the very highest, so one of the biggest clubs in the world, with some major icons, and he said nothing but all they wanted was an organised session. They'd kick off if the session was 5 minutes late or a cone was out of place. They'd kick off, but if everything was organised, they were perfect to work with. They just want to go and get better, be better. So as I say, I think it's just about creating the right environment and talking about your subject, demonstrating you have the subject knowledge, and being disciplined with it as well. At the end of the day, it's about the team. It's not one individual. It's about the team.
You say you expect much of the same from Hearts at the weekend. What did you learn from that game?
We were poor. We were poor that night. As a group of players and staff, we were poor that night. It's about us all together. And just put your hand up. Sometimes you have a bad performance, a bad day. Don't make weak excuses. We were poor on the night. Hands up, we got beaten by a team who were better than us on the night. Do we want to redeem ourselves on Saturday? Absolutely. Did we last Saturday against Aberdeen? Yeah, we went part of the way. But we've got to learn from the fact that we were poor at Tynecastle. And we dropped 3 valuable points, so we want to be better every time we play.
You've got this good home record, Mark. Do you see it being a totally different game given that at Ibrox? Because it's quite tight at Tynecastle. Yeah,
it's tight, and the pitch was very soft at Tynecastle. I remember it did cut up, and that's not one of those weak excuses I just referred to. It was a difficult surface in terms of getting started, but Hearts did a good job on us that night. And Ibrox is a great playing surface, bigger pitch. We're at home, so what Hearts do, I can't predict. We only think what they might do. It's about Rangers. It's about us being brave on the ball, doing the job, winning the battles, and hopefully playing and controlling the football. And if we can do that, we'll be in a good position come 5 o'clock.
How big a decision do you have to make at right back? Because James Tavernier was in here earlier, very honestly holding his hands up, saying his performance against Hearts was below par, and he's now relishing the competition for places that maybe wasn't there last season. So do you have to factor in everything now, making that decision?
Yeah, you do, and all credit Lee Hodgson and Tav. Tav's been an automatic choice for best part of 18 months, and as you rightly say, he never had a competition last year. We didn't have the squad numbers, so he kept himself fit, as with Lee Wallace, and they were magnificent. And Lee Hodgson's come in, who's a top-class young player. He's international. He played away against Germany, away against Croatia. He's a very talented defender, and he's bided his time patiently. So the way he was training, he deserved to come in. So Tav knows how the game works. Tav knows what we think of him as a player and on and off the field. He's a very talented individual, great guy, and a huge future. I think Tav can go to the highest level. But sometimes, as I say, you have to recognise that you have to maintain the standards, and Tav knows that, and it's nice to have that option anyway.
Mark, yesterday Joey Barton was talking about signing for Rangers and he had no regrets because of the adverse PR about it, rightly or wrongly. Is that good to hear, that no matter what, somebody would still want to sign for the club?
Yeah, I think it's a big club. It's not about Joey or myself. It's a big. Rangers is a magnificent club. It's as simple as that. It's a fantastic football institution. You have to be at Rangers on Saturday, to be at Ibrox on Saturday rather, to see that atmosphere, hear that atmosphere, and feel it was a magnificent football stadium. So there's no doubt huge selling points of Rangers. So always delighted to hear that, and that's what we have to do. We're not going to, as I say many times, out big clubs down south for players in terms of the financial aspect, but we can demonstrate what Rangers has to offer in the training complex here, an iconic stadium, magnificent support, 50,000 fans. There's a lot to enjoy at Rangers.
You think the club's still capable of signing somebody of Joey's calibre, further down the league?
Absolutely, no doubt. As I say, go to the game last Saturday, you'd sell it there and then.
Can I just ask you, have your paths ever crossed with Ian Cathro?
No, they haven't. Never met Ian at all. Never met Austin either. So looking forward to having a post-game drink. But so I wish him well after Saturday.
How is your team news at the moment?
Jordan probably 7 to 10 days. Josh Windass probably about 4 or 5 days away. So we're getting closer. Other than that, Clint, as you know, is suspended. Everyone else is fit and well.